Hi everybody and welcome. And for today's project, I made my own custom little handrail schedule to use, and of course I'll be sharing that with you in the link below, but I'll also be showing you how exactly I went about making this. Now, firstly, I used good old Google to find a website, a local manufacturer of handrailing that happened to have downloadable AutoCAD files of this, and the AutoCAD files look something like, well, these, quite a lot of them, and they're all the different bends and uprights and so forth that we will be using for this project. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to create a drawing to work off of, as we'll need a border, a template, a basic size to fit everything into. And for that, I'm going to create a empty GA. And that's it. Now, size-wise, I'm going to set this up to be my preferred drawing size over here, as it'll be the same size as most of my GAs or as my assembly drawings. And in this case, let's see, I think an assembly drawing would be nice. An A2, yes. So this is the size I'm going to use for my schedule. And the reason I say that is I would like to use this paper size as a general guide, as well as have an idea of where my cutouts, notes and so forth will be. From this, just goes that, I'm going to export. So export drawing. Let's see, file prefix, suffix, I don't really care about that. Let's open up the folder. Yes, it has to be exactly inside that. DWG, doesn't really matter what CAD format you use, just make sure that it is older than your current version of AutoCAD. And I don't really care about any of the other stuff either. And that'll open up this over here. Now, I've already downloaded these files from the other one, and I'm now going to open up this new one in AutoCAD as well. The next thing I want to do is get rid of this watermark, as we will be creating a new file to import into AutoCAD. We don't really want it to put in the watermark, as we'll end up with double watermarks and unusable information. Now, as I would like to just use the title block, maybe keep this around for now, but I don't really want it in the layout. I would like it in the model itself. I'm going to just copy this over into a new blank drawing using 000 or 0,0 as my starting point over there, and then I can close up this drawing we made. Next, I'm going to go through all of these things and just move them in. Now that we've got everything on one drawing, I'm just going to save before I mess up again. Let's call this handrailing schedule. Now, once that's done, we're going to go through each and every one of them and just make sure they are, well, what we want them to be. Firstly, you'll see that there are some of these that are, well, you could say the same, exactly the same. There's also ones with just small differences, so you will need to go through and pick the ones that you will be using on a regular basis. Now, you don't necessarily have to delete any of the stuff, but you don't have to use all of it. So firstly, I'm going to leave this one right here because I would like one that shows just the simple pinned connection. They're going to have a small post. This is going to slide over, and that's it. Next, I do need one from the side. So this one here will do 175 from top. That'll be incorrect, as most of ours will be 70 from top. I'm just going to change that. And these top numbers don't really matter that much unless you're specifically buying from these people or your client is specifically ordering from this company. You can make a few basic changes as to suit a more general purpose, a more general need. Now, as for this one over here, it's basically the same as the straight one, except that it's going to be used on an angle, and I think that is going to be good enough. I'm just going to take these two lines, move it up there, and get rid of that over there. I don't need to say it's 18 holes, as that is a fair standard for all our handrailing, but you can leave in as much or as little information as needed, not as wanted but as needed. And I'm just going to go ahead through all of these and clean up what needs cleaning up. This one, just delete that off the bat. Let's see, shorter ones. These will be for ladders, 75 degrees and so forth. For that stuff, I don't use anything, or I'll create a separate list for those. As for these, with the top connection, we don't use anything that sinks in. We'll only be using the one that's directly on top of the surface. Let's see, that can go. This will be the stair stanchion. That'll be 85. It's got 130 total for a 45 at the bottom. That I'm going to delete. And in this one's case, I will be leaving this extra bit of information. Maybe just move it a little bit to the side, easier to see, or I could just add the information to this one over here. For example, I could just take those, add it there, and get rid of this side completely. Again, as little or as much information as you deem necessary for your specific needs or for your clientele. Next, these long bends are pretty standard at 300, but there's no dimension, and because I've already exploded it and we've put it on another sheet, even if I put a dimension in right now, it's going to give me a completely wrong amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one from over there that I know is correct, or that's got the correct sizes at least, size of arrows and such. To be specific, I'm gonna bring this down right over there. Get that roughly center over there, and as I said, this is going to be about 300, so I'm going to put that in there. Again, this is the small corner made for the smaller handrailing items, usually used on the ladders. Not needed for us. These two are needed. That's a good bend. This is a short arm bend. Now the big difference between the short arm and the regular bend is that this should be about 140, 150-ish. If you are not sure, check the catalogs or go look at the ones provided, see what's average or what's normal in your area, and work from that. This will be item number 5. Let's see, item number 5. $210, so 310. Okay. So I'm just gonna drag that over there. Get this thing put in roughly about there. Change that to 200, and of course, again, depending on your situation, you can either have one dimension or both. Go. This 300 as well. And since we did it this side, I'm going to do Control-Shift-C, get a point over there to copy from, and paste it on the same point as this side will be, well, supposed to be the same. Again, a lot of sizes don't exactly match because I needed to explode it so that information will not be lost, as was done the second time around. It's actually the third, so the fourth. I don't remember, it doesn't matter. Okay, so 100 over there. I'm going to leave that one there. Copy that up. That one. So these are the ones that I would like to keep. Name wise, I'm not going to bother with the names as they are fairly generic for my region. Just get them tucked up a little nice and tight. And next comes the layout part. Now, currently we've got a total of 11 parts, and we'll also need one for our general handrailing. So I'm going to pick just one of these. I just need 2 pieces, 2 lines, and I'm going to turn those over, and that's going to represent a standard piece of handrailing. Next, I'm going to have to bring these all a lot closer to each other in order to get a layout that will fit inside this block. I'm also going to need to create a nice space for text where we're going to fill in our amounts when we're doing our schedule. So first order of business is we are going to make a bunch of squares. Basically, we would like a block that everything fits into and those that don't fit, like this might be a little bit big compared to the rest of the stuff, or all of these bends are actually a little bit big compared to the rest of the stuff, we are going to scale down, make it a little bit smaller, more or less the same size as these would, so that everything can fit into the same, well, space. Now, yeah, this looks about right. Now, while still far from perfect, quite far from perfect, this is roughly what I'd like. So I'm going to take everything and just cut it with Control X, paste it again with Control V, and then type in not, just to get it right here down in the corner at my 0xy position. Once that's done, save this. Close these extras, which didn't really use, and can close this button. Leave it for coming to the plot files. I can delete everything except the handrail schedule. Just skip all those. Handrail schedule, I'm going to copy, stick it inside my model. And let's get back to Tekla. Now, when you're doing a handrail schedule, we're simply going to bring it in. So look here, handrail schedule, apply, stick it somewhere, and as you can see, it fits just about perfect, like we worked it out to do. Now, this green line around it will of course always be a little bit bigger and will come with, and we are going to change that to this one over here, which is the non-printing layer, and it works just like our normal views is outsides. And now we've got a nice looking schedule with all our different bends. To use it, we'll simply just lay down a piece of text, and we can type in our amounts or our numbers there. And that's it for this. Now, let's get back to our handrailing